So this is an Australian boat that you can see to the left of your picture in the Hambleden Pairs Challenge Cup. Mitchell and Gaffney against Edwards and Brew, nearest to the camera. Rebecca Edwards and Chloe Brew, who are international rowers, very experienced international rowers, and they need to dig on that experience quickly. Edwards and Brew have gone way out into the middle of the course, which is extremely unlikely considering how experienced they are, but they've made a bit of a mess of that steering, and you can see a glance over the left shoulder from Rebecca Edwards to try and get that sorted out, but I wouldn't have expected that from those two.
Yeah, it's hard to know whether they were level off the start, but Mitchell and Gaffney, the Australian crew on the left-hand side of your picture, 23 and 22 years of age, just showing a bit of maturity there and getting a really nice straight line off the start, getting out of the box cleanly, and they've been rewarded by that lengths lead over the Great Britain pair from Leander.
Senior World Championships in the women's pair, Mitchell and Gaffney in 2022, last time out, last year.
And this is going to start to play in the minds of Rebecca Edwards and Chloe Brew, because I think going into this, seeing I've got quite a young Australian pair that are coming up through the team, would have just thought that maybe we'll have the better of them, but actually they're down. And so going into the middle of this race, they're going to be making sure that they're committed to their race pace, maximising their distance per stroke, because they're going to now have to row through that Australian women's pair of Jane Mitchell and Eliza Gaffney. Lovely shot here of both crews. You can just appreciate on the right-hand side of your picture a nice, smooth, relaxed stroke there, set by stroke Eliza Gaffney on that Australian pair. Really nice symmetry to what they're doing in the water. You can hopefully appreciate that just both spoons, so those white bits of the oar at the end, just timing beautifully together, which ensures that white Philippi hull is just cutting through the water in a really nice straight line.
So this event has been on the water since 2017, relatively recently, the Open Women's Pair event. And the Australians getting the upper hand here. This is a high-quality race on the water, and Mitchell and Gaffney have got more than the length clear now.
And this is an interesting time for this pairs race, because we talked about that no man's land, that middle of the race where things go quite quiet. You've just got you, your rhythm and your thoughts. And so Rebecca Edwards on the right-hand side of your picture, you can just see her glancing across, trying to see where those Australian women are. She'll have been making a call to Chloe Brew saying, right, let's move, let's bring up the pace. How are we going to do that? They'll have pre-rehearsed calls going into this race, so one or two little words will allow them just to lift the boat speed, and it may be now that they're just putting in those pushes, trying to get back on terms in this race.
All the rowers in this one have previously competed at Henley Royal Regatta, but there's notably more Henley experience, as you might think, in the Edwards and Brew boat than in the Australian boat. That's just simple geography and logistics, but we've got the Australians here keeping a... Yeah, they're definitely hanging on in there, aren't they, Edwards and Brew?
They're doing a really good job, but if I was worried with, if I was thinking about this shot and I was the Australian, I would be worried because I can feel that British boat moving through. Rebecca and also Chloe have just got a really nice, strong, languid rhythm, and they've moved through that Melbourne boat.
Another glance over the shoulder. You mentioned, Cameron, Rebecca Edwards having a look there again, just looking to see where the opposition are. And she'll be pretty pleased to see what's happened in that last minute of the race. They've made the move. Now can they sustain it? Can they see it out to the end? Psychologically, that's going to be a bit of a hammer blow for the Australians. They're going to need to show some mettle here.
Psychologically massive, but how much energy has that used to get them back on terms and back in front? This is the fascination with the one-on-one racing, is that we can't see that little energy levels. As if we were playing a video game, we can't see how much energy that crew has used up to get back on terms.
Well, they look relaxed enough at the moment. No grimacing particularly in that Leander boat.
Having a quick chat by the looks of things.
Yeah, well, I thought so. They were just talking about what they're going to have for lunch in a few minutes' time.
I really like what Melbourne on the right-hand side of your picture are doing. They've noticed that push, and they've noticed that they've rowed through, and they think, right, now we need to go again. They've increased their rate of striking, so the number of strokes per minute. They've put in a bigger push to stay back on terms with that Great Britain pair.
Yeah, and the Great Britain pair hold that lead. They look like they're just going to try and sit on that lead now.
And Rebecca Edwards in the bow seat, recently awarded that British Empire Medal for services to rowing. She is certainly putting in a big service here to rowing, and she has rowed through everyone in that pair. Coming into the last 500-600 metres into stewards' enclosure, they have got a really nice position now.
The umpire raises the white flag, gets the megaphone ready, and says to the GB pair of Edwards and Brew, you need to get back onto your side of the water. There's nothing too dramatic at this stage, but the umpire is persistent.
They have been warned twice, and those oars are overlapped. So if I was in the Australian boat, I would be thinking the other Great Britain boat has moved across. Let's try and push. Let's try and get into front water so that we can try, maybe even trigger a clash. Umpire's warning again to that Leander boat.
Need to be careful here, Edwards and Brew, because they look a little bit like they're ignoring the umpire's call. And they're not too far away. They'll be very tired, obviously, at this late stage of the race in front of stewards. And they're still being asked to get across. Yeah, the umpire's giving them short shrift now. So let's just, you can see that GB boat's in front. So there's no oar clashing, no blades clashing at this stage. But the Australians will be on the dirty water behind, won't they?
Yeah, it looks like there's sufficient clear water now. It shouldn't be a problem. But what a nice, mature middle of the race from Rebecca Edwards and Chloe Brew.
Edwards and Brew have reduced their rate of striking to 28.
Yeah, dropping down the
Mitchell and
stroke
Gaffney
rate.
continue at 35.
28 to 35, we're
Edwards
told.
and Brew lead by 2 lengths.
So the Australians flummoxed mid-race. Edwards and Brew kept very calm, moved away, and put in a solid victory against the Australians, Mitchell and Gaffney. Through they go to the weekend. Good news for them in the Hambleden, Edwards and Brew through.